Waking up in the morning and realizing all your money from your bank account suddenly disappeared. What you gonna do? Reports show that only 1% of those people in that situation can get the money back. Question like, why do I lose my money? Where does the money go? And how do I get it back? Have been pulling back and forth between stakeholders for years. No one could answer them until today. With Into the Cyberverse, your favorite cybersecurity podcast, and I'm your tech lady, but I'm not answering the question. Our experts will do so. Now we are welcoming Kitty Cao, the global head of marketing, and Roger, the CEO of HiTRUST International. Hi.
Hi.
Are you ready?
Yes.
If you are ready, let's go.
Into the Cyberverse.
It's obvious that when the money is lost, everyone is confused and no one wants to take the responsibilities. We see that people try to ask the banks and the organization to help them to recover the lost money, but some of them refused. Then because people don't know what happened and they don't know what to do next. That's why we have the podcast today. We are talking more about why do people lose the money, how do we get it back, and about your experience of you working globally in many different countries and companies to help organization and individual to have a safer payment life online. Okay, so we are going to break it down very easily for all people to understand. The first question is, why do people lose their money online?
Actually, I haven't had any experience losing money online, but there were cases that I almost lost money. And I feel strongly about this because a lot of the reasons why people lose money partly is because of the lack of awareness when it comes to fraud and scam online. Even social engineering attacks where people would call you and pretend to be someone to take your money. The awareness is one thing, and we also lack technologies to prevent these kinds of things happening every day.
So I can sum it up like it's because of awareness about fraud, scam, social engineering, and about the technology.
Yes.
We are going to make it very easy and simple words for our other audience to understand what is fraud and what is scam. Can you give me the brief introduction and even some very popular type of fraud and scams right now and some example real life?
Okay, so fraud is actually an umbrella term that covers different kinds of things below it. So you can imagine fraud is when someone tries to take money from you, take financial gains from you, and do it in many different ways. So an example of fraud is that someone steal your credentials or your card numbers online, and then they use it to pay, and then they take that gain from you. And scam is another term that falls under the fraud umbrella. So scam means that someone is doing fraud on you, but using little tricks. Like they send you a message to say that you need to pay this amount of money because you're a criminal or you've done something wrong, or send you an email with a very not credible link. So you click onto it and then you will lose all your information. So those are the two very common things that we discuss in fraud prevention. And there are definitely some examples of fraud and scam.
Then it is the main reason why do people lose their money. We know why, but when people lose the money, the question is, how do I get it back? Now, when someone being fraud and scam online, what do they need to do to get the money back?
Call the police, I think. If I lost the money, I will call the police and file my case. You have to call the police, not call the banks. Yeah. Banks also is to protect their assets. And banks always think the scam is not their responsibility. It's due to their users careless. I think the best way is to call the police.
So now it comes to the solution number one, that users need to raise their own awareness about fraud and scam and how to get rid of them. And the number two, call the police. And the number three, now it's come to banks and all the fintech and platform organizations. They need to do something to help their users to prevent being scammed and fraud, right? So what should they do?
There are certain protocols in the banking industry where users and the banks, both of them, can be protected against different kinds of fraud. For example, in online credit card payment, there's a protocol called 3D Secure. That's also what we provide to our banking clients. And what that does is it helps banks to authenticate and understand who is making this payment and whether this person is a real person or not. So in that entire process and in the entire 3D Secure ecosystem, the liability of loss, so when a case of fraud happens, the liability will be shifted to the issuer who issued your banking card. So that means that the users, the cardholders will be fully protected if there's a fraud case, given that 3D Secure is activated for their card and also for all of their transactions. So if someone checked out with your card illegally and they broke through the wall of 3D Secure and you file a case with your bank and there's enough evidence to prove that it wasn't you, then you will definitely get your money back.
How do you prove that it is you?
Yes, there are different kinds of ways that a user can file a case and different kinds of information within a transaction that can prove that you are the true person who made the transactions. So within the 3D Secure environment itself, there are different components, and there's something that we call risk detection. So it's backed by a lot of technologies like AI and machine learning. So what we do is we break it down to different groups of information. For example, like your information related to your device. So we find out whether you're making this transaction from your home country or you're traveling, or if the location is very weird. Let's say this morning, 8 a.m., you're in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, and then 4 p.m., you make a transaction in London. So that doesn't make sense because you can't move from Ho Chi Minh City to London that fast. So that would be something that will trigger the risk mechanism and will record all of that. So when you need to debate with your case or with the bank, those information will help you gain your money back.
But as far as what I just thinking in my mind right now, because it's 3D and it's many different steps and many different pages that direct the user to, right? Is it something that make user afraid of their user experience? Is it complicated?
Yeah, this kind of authentication method really caused friction between the user in the user experience. So that is why we need some mechanism, AI technology, to identify the risk level of each transaction. So if the level is low, that we don't trigger the authentication mechanism. But if the risk is very high, we can also reject the transaction right away.
Okay, so you clarify each type of transaction. Is it like a good one, a normal one? So it's going to be a different kind of authentication. And if it's a high risk transaction, you can give user more challenge to finish it?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. But I'm wondering how is the status of banks and of organization in your country, Taiwan, Shanghai, China, and some other your customer country applying that 3D stuff?
Yes, so for 3D Secure, for any online transaction that uses credit card or debit card, any card that you see are issued by the big 6 card schemes like Visa, MasterCard, China Union Pay, and other brands must have 3D Secure in their process of payment for online payments. So the issuing banks are all mandated to have this kind of feature in their product to ensure that no matter where you're making your transaction from, there's still a layer of protection. In terms of rolling out in the banks, I think all the banks in Taiwan and also in mainland China have already adopted that mechanism. But like Roger has shared, it also creates a lot of friction for the users. So most of them will like to have some risk detection mechanism within the 3D Secure system itself to help recognize which are the bad customers that need to be authenticated and which are the good customers that we can let them make the payment without any authentication. So apart from finding out whether it's fraud or if it's suspicious, these kinds of solutions also help to distinguish good customers and reward them with a very good customer journey.
Okay, but you have just mentioned Visa. Visa already applied the 3D Secure, but we still have a lot of incidents out there that people with Visa cards, they lost the money. So what happened and why? Why do they still lost the money even though that Visa already applied the 3D Secure?
I think there are because more and more advanced scam skill or fraudster skill that come out. For example, like the generated AI. So the people can be fake, and there is someone talk to you, but it's not a real person. It's AI generated person. So we need more advanced technology skill to prevent the advanced technology scamming skill in the same time.
You just remind me of the first Into the Cyberverse episode. Our guest Hiếu PC already told me about the deepfake. It's gonna be one of the biggest and the largest risk threats online that people need to be aware of. And he told me that soon, then the deepfake prevention tool gonna be applied in many different organizations for people to know if it's a deepfake call, deepfake person, deepfake even message, or so forth and so on, or is it a real authenticated one?
The solution right now for deepfake detection, they have some deepfake technology detection, but it's of course, these kind of service cost some money. Depend on the company they want to use that or not. In the next 5 years, the people start to get to know more about it, and they have to apply deepfake detection even in real time, and to protect their companies against like cyber attack like that, for not losing money. So I guess the industries of deepfake detection technologies will get so popular, and it could be a need, a very very special need in the future for many companies that they do care about it.
Are you, like HiTRUST, doing anything related to that kind of scam, high-tech scam, like deepfake?
So when it comes to fraud prevention, there are actually two sides of things when it comes to why it happens and why people can or cannot prevent it. The first dimension is the user dimension, relating to awareness. So if there's no awareness in the community, and there are social engineering and phishing scams, people will keep on clicking to those links and giving away their credentials. And on the technology side, there are different technologies to prevent fraud and to help the customers protect themselves. But most of the financial institutions around the world, they still prefer to authenticate users through the SMS OTP method, which is very, very dangerous, because you might think that SMS OTP is safe because the code is sent to your phone. But you never know if the website that you're paying on, is it a real website or is it a phishing website? So someone that's a bad person could hide behind a fake website to retrieve your SMS OTP and make that payment. So within our company ourselves, we do have a strong R&D team that looks at these kinds of solutions for these kinds of scams and fraud. And we do have some AI-powered solution that could help detect whether the transaction is real or the transaction is suspicious. And we pair it up with a solution that helps to authenticate users passwordlessly, so help with the convenience for the users, and also strengthening the security by eliminating SMS OTP as a method to authenticate.
I do agree with you that awareness is very important. The awareness of not only the people who decide what technology they are going to apply to the organization, to the bank or to the fintech companies, but the awareness of mass general people is very important. Now in Vietnam, you know that in July 1st, with the decision 2345 of State Bank of Vietnam, we changed the landscape of authentication in bank industry with Biometrics and FIDO2. With your experience of HiTRUST, not only in Vietnam, but also in many different countries, do you have any point of view and perspective to that news?
Yes, I think this is a very good move for Vietnam government to make the entire transaction environment or login environment to make the environment more safe and protect the user's identity, security. So I think it's a good move. And as I know that in Singapore, they already have SingPass. SingPass is applying a lot of industry and area that to protect users' identity and also provide a very smooth experience for the users. Okay, and in China we have Alipay and WeChat Pay. It's also a very useful method for the banks or the e-commerce website to apply to verify the user's identity. I think it's the same for Singapore. and China, and also in Taiwan, the government, like Vietnam government, also work together to push this security to protect the user's identity.
But in Singapore and in China, what kind of authentication that they are applying for the SingPass?
Yeah, so SingPass is a nationwide system to sort of KYC, know your customer, for opening accounts and doing different kinds of registration, because in Singapore, there are different projects that the government work to provide services to the citizens, such as HDB, housing development buildings. So when you need to buy a house or buy a car, you will need to provide your credentials, your information, and those are all done via SingPass. So they just try to streamline these know your customer, identifying their citizens into one little hub. And everything is stored there, and all the citizens with a SingPass account can authenticate anywhere they go. So from the information that we have from the FIDO Alliance last year, SingPass is already developing a FIDO2 mechanism to deploy onto their mechanism to help authenticate more safely.
In China, the Alipay has a lot of users, as well as WeChat. So the user can do a lot of things in Alipay and WeChat. So Alipay and WeChat collect a lot of user profile and user data. So when the other e-commerce or other company want to apply the user data, they prefer to log into Alipay's system and verify by Alipay to make sure the user's identity. Okay, so Alipay and WeChat provide this kind of service to like an open platform to all the company, to all the e-commerce platform, and even the government institutions.
What is the protocol under that?
I think it's also like a biometric.
Biometric.
Everything in China, they has their own protocol. They build up their own standard, but it's very similar to like FIDO standard.
It's similar one.
Yes.
Public key cryptography.
I think so.
Oh, okay. So we see that many countries around the world, especially in Asia, because it's Singapore and China, they are moving into password-led authentication.
Yes, I think password is not only risky, unsafe, but also for user, they are very hard to remember their own password for each account. So that is why they prefer to keep one password on Alipay and verify their identity through Alipay.
Okay, cool. We are talking about the problem of password. As I told you that I am trying so hard and meeting so many challenges to help people to understand the risks of password and all the problem with password. It is my challenging when I try to educate the customer and educate the audience about cybersecurity. Do you find the same kind of challenge when you're working for HiTRUST and trying to bring all the solution to mass audience and also for the organizations, your customer?
Yes, I think definitely, because passwords have been around for over 60 years. So there has been a habit of using passwords. So it's very difficult to change that kind of habit in a short term. So I think elimination of passwords and the adoption of new technologies would be a long run for all of us. And the reason why people haven't really trusted other solutions other than the traditional passwords is because they don't understand the difference between those two methods, because they do not have access to very technical information, and also it's very hard to explain the technical details to the mass audience. So what we try to do is we try to break it down and make it very consumer friendly, user friendly, so people can more easily to understand what's the difference. So if you look at the traditional legacy password-based authentication method, so when you key in your username and your password, the server will need to send your information to the public server to know that, oh, this is Annie logging in, these are Annie's credentials. So within that communication, someone who's a hacker, he can intercept the communication while your username and password, like Annie123, is moving to the public server. The hacker can take that. He can steal that from you and log in on other platforms. So you end up losing your account and your money. But with other new technologies, we can prevent that. And it's very helpful to let the mass audience and the users understand that passwords is actually not that safe. Especially like Roger mentioned, you cannot remember so many passwords. So you end up having the same passwords for different accounts. We all do that. And that's not safe because once a hacker knows an account to, let's say, your email account, and then use the same thing for something else, and he can break into the other platform and have all of your accounts attached.
Most of the fraud and scam tactic that hackers doing right now is like, besides hacker calling you and say that, hey, Kitty, send me the money, I'm your mom, for example. Now they are doing social engineering, phishing to get your password. Right? So if we are not using passwords, so nothing to phish anymore, so we can prevent a lot of fraud and scam online, and that's what we are talking about, fraud and scam, to protect your asset and protect your accounts online. We have been talking about the 3D secure, we have been talking about the AI detection tools that HiTRUST is building. Beside them, do you have any other solution to organizations like banks and fintech ones to protect their customers online in that landscape of very rising exponentially of threats?
We do offer FIDO authentication that can go on top of online credit card transaction to prevent the fraud. So instead of authenticating through SMS OTP, you can actually use FIDO with your biometric to authenticate. And we focus on leveraging our expertise on the transactions online, and we try to provide a more consumer-friendly user flow that only requires the users to register once, and then they can continuously use that FIDO authentication function for the subsequent transactions.
Now I really need your help because we are really looking for someone who can explain FIDO 2 in the easiest words for all the mass audience can understand. What is it? What is FIDO 2? What is the difference between FIDO 2 and password? Is an easy question, but the more difficult question, what is the difference between FIDO and biometrics?
So people might think that FIDO 2 and biometrics are similar because you still scan your face, you still scan your finger, but the difference is that in biometric authentication, the usual biometrics that you see on different kinds of apps and websites, it's actually a lazy method for password authentication. So usually you will key in your username and your password, but you feel lazy. You don't want to do that anymore. So you replace that with your biometric, your face or your finger. So what happens in the back end is your face will allow that platform, that app or website to send your password to the server without you typing in. So technically the mechanism is still the same and your details still travels to the server. So that is the biggest difference between biometrics, traditional biometrics, and FIDO's biometric authentication. Because within FIDO itself, there's nothing being sent to the server, and instead there's only a private key on your private device and a public key on the public server. And within the authentication ecosystem, only an end-to-end encrypted challenge will be signed by the keys from both sides. So it prevents any hackers hacking into the interception of the communication because no passwords or biometric data are being sent to the public server.
What you have just mentioned about the lazy type of biometric that you told me is this underlying biometric automatically collect the username and password and send it to the server. Technically, it's still the same with using username and password. Yeah. It's like most of the data about your biometric description also are sent to the server, public server. With the rise of biometrics authentication now in Vietnam, especially after the decision of State Bank of Vietnam, people are asking the very big question that if their data of biometric description are sent to the very public server, who gonna protect them? If you lost your password, if the hacker got the password from the server, you can change another password. So it can be somehow secure. But if your data of biometric are stolen, how can you change your face? A surgery? Or how can you change your fingerprint? So what is the most secure way to authenticate right now? What is it in your opinion?
Up to this moment, I think that would be FIDO 2 because of the public key cryptography mechanism. And also when it comes to biometrics, The reason why people get hacked from biometrics, like you said, we cannot change our face, right? Is because all of the data is being stored centralized. So once that data storage place is being hacked, then you lose everything. And that's where there have been attacks in other countries where the hackers just go attack into this public server and change your face. So let's say I have an account and you have an account. Then I'm a hacker and I go onto the public server, I change your face, I change Annie's face to my face. So I can log into your account using my face because the data on the public server right now records your name under my face. So I am kind of legally logging into your account without people knowing because the security on the public server is lacking. So we think that would be something that's worth looking into. When these kinds of technologies are being applied and implemented into national-wide systems. So the storage area, the storage place must be very securely protected.
Oh, I didn't know that we can like change the face like that with biometrics. So it's pretty the same with password, right?
Yes, because the mechanism is whatever you put on your phone, they will send it to the server to compare with what you register. So if them both look the same, then you can log in. But if I change the source and I log in with another face, if it matches, then
so I can still log in.
Yes.
Oh wow! So it's like with password, someone can come to the public server, change the password that I registered before into your password, for example, and then you just use your new password. Got it.
So the story here is biometric is still a very safe option when compared to SMS OTP or even passwords themselves. So the challenge here is how to protect the place where you store everything. Yes.
With FIDO2, you are not storing things centralized. You store that on your device.
Yes.
So everything is much safer because all your data, your biometric, even if you use biometric with FIDO2, it's like on-device biometric. Please tell me some case study of HiTRUST applying FIDO2 in some of their banks. What happened before using FIDO2? What happened after using FIDO2? What is the most successful things that you are proud of and want to show everyone of that?
I think we have a case in Taiwan. We provide our FIDO2 solution to very big banks in Taiwan. And before we sell our solution to the bank, we have a very long study with the bank's technology people and business people. We study together how to apply FIDO in their daily process and what is the difference between FIDO and SMS, one-time password, OTP, and what is the difference between FIDO and OOB. So we study for a long time and figure out the feasibility plan to apply FIDO, how to replace the OTP and how to replace the OOB. And after all the feasibility study is ready, we take action to do the implementation and to do the customization of our FIDO2 solution.
And after that, after applying FIDO2, how about the user experience? How about the security?
I believe the user experience is getting better. I think from the statistic, when user log into the bank system, it's 40% faster than previous. They used OTP or OOB. Okay, and success rate is also increased a lot. Since there might be some loss of the one-time password, user cannot receive the one-time password. But with FIDO, that will be more easy and more secure. The user can can pass the login in time. Yeah.
But without password, how do they log in?
So with FIDO2 for the banking app, they will be logging in with their biometrics. That will be their face or their fingerprint. But for the desktop version with the browser, they can plug in a physical key, like what CSS is providing to the market. They can authenticate using that key. And also if they're using like a device, a laptop with a fingerprint function, they can also log in with that fingerprint.
Okay, so we are calling them passkey.
Yes.
Instead of password, they're using passkey with FIDO2. You have just mentioned the security key. For me, it's the most higher secure method to authenticate right now. But people still feel like, why do I need to bring along another thing, another stuff to secure me myself? and they feel that it is not convenient for them. Do you feel that a security key is inconvenient, and how do we solve it?
So whether it's convenient or not depends on your lifestyle and your habit. I know some people who work in the tech industry, they really don't mind. Because they feel like it's a safe option for them, so they always carry it and loop it onto their keychain. So with a bunch of house keys, car keys, and then they have the token, and they can plug it in or use their fingerprint with the fingerprint function to do that. But for the mass users who do not really understand the mechanism behind it and do not really want to carry something with them, the alternative option is to use WebAuthn. So it's a protocol called web authentication that helps replicate what happens with your plugin token when you're on a browser or on a smart device. WebAuthn can replicate all of that and ensure that it's the same mechanism and you're receiving the same level of security without bringing any items with you. For people who don't have a habit of bringing any additional devices.
You're talking about changing the habit, and I think that people, both individual and organizations, they only change the habit and only change the old things when someone forced them to change. For example, for individual, they only change their authentication method when they lose the money, or for organizations also when they get big scandals, when their customer got very bad experience and they get into news channels, everyone talking about them. Or maybe like in Vietnam, the government forced them to apply the new technology. I know that you have a lot of story to tell in terms of anti-fraud and scam journey. Besides the FIDO2 experience that you have just mentioned with your Taiwanese bank, do you have any case studies of some of your customers? Why did they change into the new solution like 3Ds or AI detection of HiTRUST? What happened before that? What is the turning point of them? And after using your 3Ds or AI detection and all your solution, what happened next to that? And is it a good case studies for other organizations to study following up?
Okay, we have a case in China that's still the top 4 banks in China. They apply our 3D secure identity authentication when do the online credit card transaction. But I think it's not enough for them, since now we are pushing the frictionless transaction. The rate of frictionless transaction has to be increased above 50%. And also that we push to use the FIDO or biometric authentication to replace one-time password. So we help our client. We provide a solution that's called device fingerprint collector. So we collect all the device fingerprint from the payers. We can identify the payers like location, like his IP, his browser, and his device model. And there are a lot of information we can collect from this tool. So we collect the data and analyze it and feedback to the banks. So the banks can build up a user's profile based on the digital data we provide. So for the next time, the bank know more and more about the user's behavior, so they can make a decision more precisely, accurately to identify the user's behavior is normal or is the user behavior abnormal. So that would really help the bank to know more about their user and make a right decision when they identify the risk level of users' online transaction or users' logins. So that is the solution that we provide to the banks, and we build up the entire system in-house. The banks help them claim the users' digital data.
But I am wondering, what is the turning point for them to decide to use the new technology of you?
I think they are aware that there are more, and just like I said, the scamming technology is also improved and upgrade. So they want to do something to prevent the loss from the user. I think this is a very important motivation. And I think the other is that we use our electronic device more and more often. Actually, we can collect much more data from our device is quite different from what we can have in the past. We can have what we in the past is the user's mobile phone number, user's address, user's name, or user's age. It's all about personal information. But now, the cardholder, the user, spend a lot of time in their mobile phone. So collect the digital data, device fingerprint from their devices is getting more useful than what is before. So that is why the bank thinks this kind of technology can help them to collect more data from the user and build up the entire profile
of their
each of their
customer.
user.
Okay, but I'm wondering because it's data. Data is the asset. Data is treasure for not only banks, for not only organizations like you to provide solution for banks, but also for hackers.
Most of our bank has a very highly security regulation in the banks. So why we have to implement our system in-house there, the bank's IDC, is because all the information they collect is based on the bank's transaction process. It's based on the user's login journey. Okay, so the data collect we all store in the bank's IDC, which is more secure, which is highly compliant with like PCI DSS as a standard. So that makes all the data we collect is safe.
Okay, so you say that it's all about the login journey, and it's all inside within the bank system. Then it's come back to the login, how to secure the login process, and login is on authentication is the door to open up all this data that you have just mentioned. As Kitty already said that at this point of time, at this moment, FIDO2 is the most secure method. You mentioned about bank data. Then you remind me of a fear of many users. I don't know if it's gossip or myth or not, but many people in Vietnam, they believe that the data were sold by bank. So to other stakeholders, other service providers, because almost every day, I, myself, and many of my friends and colleagues, they get calls from all the other organizations and people asking where do they get the phone number to call, where do they get my name. They even know my transaction habit. They even know how many money do I get in my bank. So people believe that bank sells that information. How do you feel?
Yes, that's true. That is really what happened. What you say is right the pain point that bank face. So why they need our solution to collect more users' digital data? Because your personal data is very easy to be sold by the banks, insiders to the black market, right? For example, like your personal information, your personal message, you know that, and the banks know that. And when you log in, when you want to buy something, you use your personal data. Hacker can use your personal data to pretend they are you. But the hacker doesn't have your personal devices. So that is why banks need our solution to collect the personal digital device data to identify is that one really real you or not.
Is that from that device?
Yes. Can you explain more?
Yeah, so from your concerns, from a data storage perspective, so what we store and what we collect from the users are actually information about your device, like what browser are you using, what model of the device you're using, are you using a mouse, are you using touchscreen or something like that. So in the worst case scenario, if those data were to be leaked, there's nothing to be related to you as a person. So they know this. They know that Annie uses an iPad and Annie often make purchases at 2 p.m. In the afternoon, and Annie lives in Hanoi. And there's not much information that if a hacker can get, and if bad actors out there can get, they cannot contact you directly, and there's no relationship towards yourself as a person. So that's why we focus more on information related to the device rather than information related to you as a person. That's a way of our company, ourselves. We use technology in the best way possible to collect more information, but still maintain the data privacy concerns with the customers.
Okay, so it's come back to the question that why do I lose my money online? We say that because of fraud and because of scam, and we can prevent it by raising your awareness for individual about the fraud and scam, types of fraud and scam, how to recognize if it's a scam call, if it's a scam links or not. And for the technology, we need to apply the latest technology, and it's come back to the story about data that you told us, that we need to know how to protect our data. There's some types of data that we need to protect, and individual people, the audience are watching the show, can do it and apply it right here, right now. Number one is the very important personal information, right? Like the number of your ID card, so forth and so on. Number two is about the login information, because a lot of people, most of people are still using password and OTP right now, and there's some call, some messages, or even some links asking for their passwords or asking for the OTP. People need to know that never send your OTP or your password to anyone but you, even though that the one's calling you saying that I am the employee from the bank, I'm staff of the bank, I'm staff of this organization, I'm helping you. Nope, only you use that. And if we are using biometric, or if you are using FIDO2, like what you are providing, so there's no password and no login information to be sent. So it's much safer. And the last one is about financial information. Because I am your follower on Facebook. We have just been friends yesterday, and I saw some of your posts on Facebook about how to protect your credit card information. So can you share a little bit more? For example, I am the one using credit card. How do I protect my credit card information to get away from all the fraud and scam out there?
So the very basic thing about credit card usage is that whenever you apply for a credit card, make sure that the bank issuing the card to you is protected with 3D Secure. That's very important because that ensures that if there's a fraud case happening, you will be protected and you will be able to receive your money back. That's the first thing. The second thing is if you look at your credit card, at the back of your credit card, there is a number called the CVV number. Please make sure that you always put a tape on it and remember it. Don't show that number to other people because that's the secret to cracking your card. And always remember, if you go to a restaurant or any place that you need to make payment with your card, make sure you yourself is the person who tapped the card onto the terminal. Don't leave your card unattended or leave your card to someone you don't know and you don't trust. That is very dangerous because a lot of people can remember numbers very quickly. It's 16 digit plus 3 numbers on the CVV. They can quickly remember that and use your card to make payments. So always remember to protect yourself, and where it's possible, please use Apple Pay because that's a virtual presentation of your card. People will not be able to look at your card number. So those are the very basic things that I tell people around me to make sure that you use your credit cards with responsibility.
According to report, only 1% of the people who got scam and fraud online can recover their money back. The most important part is that when they call the police or they call the bank to help them, banks say that they cannot find out who made the transaction.
Yes, that's actually a problem because if we look at those fraud and scam situations where either if it's a scam, you transfer money to someone, it directly came from your account. So it counts as a voluntary transaction. So there is no way to prove that you are being scammed, you're being tricked by someone. In the second scenario where you mentioned your colleague and yourself have lost money through Facebook ads, from a technology perspective, that happens because within that payment page on Facebook ads, there weren't any 3D Secure applied. Because if there is 3D Secure, you were supposed to receive an SMS OTP and authenticate for that transaction. So the reason why they don't apply could be because most of the Facebook ads volume and the transaction total amount is not a lot. So there is no reason for them to apply these transaction protection mechanism, because usually people run ads for $10, $5, and they don't think that that's a big enough amount to be protected. But I do think that if you are a merchant or you are an online platform, it's always important that you have 3D Secure enabled on your payment page, because if there was 3D Secure and someone has authenticated your card illegally with the OTP, you can definitely get it back by calling the bank and providing the proof that you yourself did not make that ad. Because someone might have used your card, your name is Annie, but they use it on, let's say, Amy account. So the name itself doesn't match. So why is Amy using Annie's card to make the transaction on Facebook ads? So that's something that we really hope that more and more merchants and platforms will look into and will adopt 3D Secure as the least mechanism to protect users.
Now here's come another point, the new point that not only people usually think that only FBSI, but now you say that every online platform, they need to use the latest and the most secure method to protect their user, like Facebook ads.
Protect themselves.
Protect themselves from all the problems and scandals. One fun fact about this podcast is 54% of the audience watching the show, they're from Vietnam. They're located in Vietnam. Maybe they are foreigners in Vietnam, but they're located here in Vietnam. And the rest is from many different other countries. So we have diverse background of their audience from different nations. I know that you are working in many different countries, as I said, so many times. Do you see the different landscape or different status of applying technology in different countries in comparison with Vietnam?
Yeah, it's much different. I come from China, so I feel like the technology in China is more advanced, and they always have their own protocol, their own standards. Yeah, but in South Asia, I think it's more connected to the world standards. So everything is more globalized. Yeah, but not like China. I think in South Asia, there are a lot of things to do, especially in Vietnam and in Indonesia, which is also a market that we are exploring. Okay, but for Singapore, we already have a lot of clients there. I think Singapore is also a more advanced country than in Southeast Asia to apply new technology.
So
different country has different status. Yeah.
So which country is your favorite one in terms of the status of security and technology?
Of course, I'm in Vietnam, so I like Vietnam. I think Vietnam is full of a lot of opportunity, and Vietnam has a lot of potential in IT technology. A lot of talented people here. They have very good skill in IT, in software. So I believe this is a very good market for HiTRUST to start our business.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have just had a very quick trip around the world to see how people are doing technology around the world. And we turn back into Vietnam to see that even though that maybe people don't get so used to new technology like FIDO2 and 3D Secure, for example, but we can believe that with the very development of technology skills of people and the speed of learning from Vietnamese people, we see that it's a very bright future for all of us to have better digital world to protect you yourself, to protect your loved ones, and to protect your organization, your business with advanced technology. Thank you very much for being here, having a lot of story of HiTRUST doing globally and how to protect people from losing money online. It's amazing having you here again, and see you next time.